FTX is not the only major cryptocurrency platform in financial peril this week. According to the Wall Street Journal, BlockFi is preparing for potential bankruptcy after acknowledging it has, quote, significant exposure to FTX. Now, the report also says BlockFi is planning on laying off some of its staff. Joining us now is Axios crypto reporter Crystal Kim. Crystal, good to have you back on the show. A lot of people wondering, how far does this contagion go? What do we now know?
There is so much since the last time we spoke. We entertained the idea of contagion. Well, it's here. Who's been hit? Shops that are invested in FTX, that took investments from FTX, business partners. Some of them are owed in credit or other obligations. Some were hit based on the associated tokens that crumbled. And others just have assets stranded on the FTX platform. You mentioned crypto lender BlockFi and the potential that it could file for bankruptcy that was reported by the Wall Street Journal. This morning, Axios spoke with BlockFi. They pointed us to a statement that nodded to that significant exposure to FTX and money owed to them in a credit facility and some assets on the platform. But we also have to remember that BlockFi was hobbled before this, and it was one of the firms that had a rescue deal with FTX in place. And FTX's own bankruptcy filing, of course, changed things.
So Sam Bankman-Fried still not talking, but he is tweeting. He is giving a couple of interviews, and his latest tweet had something really interesting among his observations that FTX US, quote, had enough to repay all customers. That was just earlier today. Now, even as he acknowledged in this tweet, not everyone necessarily agrees with this. Is there any truth, any reporting to the fact that FTX US could cover their customers?
Right. There is sort of a narrative gap between what SBF is saying happened and what the media has widely reported. What's been reported, right, and what's central to the collapse is that FTX had about 1 billion or 1 billion, a little bit less in liquid collateral against 9 billion in liabilities. That's like having $1 in your pocket and owing 9. Okay, that's insane, right?
I mean, clearly the math is not mathing. And this thing is really escalating because in the initial Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing, they were talking about 100,000 creditors. Now lawyers for FTX updating that filing today, saying that there could be, quote, more than 1 million creditors in these Chapter 11 cases. In terms of any sorts of remedies, we know that FTX trying to raise funds at the moment, but what sort of remedies are there for right now?
I can't tell you. I mean, you mentioned the 1 million customers that could be affected. That's an eye-popping number. And I'm sure that's related to the 134 affiliates of FTX.com that have jointly filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I don't know what their proceedings are going to look like as of yet, but based on what we've seen of other bankrupt crypto firms so far, including Celsius and Voyager Digital, I can't imagine it's going to be pretty, and I can't imagine it's going to be a short story.
The Wall Street Journal reporting that SBF is personally trying to raise funds is just the height of audacity. I cannot wait for this Michael Lewis book/film. How does the fact that FTX is located in the Bahamas, in your estimation, complicate the bankruptcy process? And quite frankly, would that have prevented our regulators, even if we had regulation, from getting visibility?
Are we talking about SBF or FTX?
FTX.
Because Okay. So FTX, definitely, you're right, in Bahamas. And they're being located there and outside of U.S. regulators' reach, I don't think is going to be an issue, but we shall see. Yeah, it's cross-jurisdictional issues have been problematic, as we've seen with Three Arrows Capital. But we also do see that there is some collaboration and cooperation across jurisdictions. So we'll see.
And Crystal, we have seen a lot of lobbyists cutting ties with SBF. And then you now have a new CEO at FTX in John J. Ray III, who helped Enron customers at least get some relief. What does the picture look like going forward? Is there rescue for FTX?
I mean, going back to what we were saying earlier about how SBF was personally trying to raise funds to plug the billions-dollar hole in their balance sheet over just this weekend post FTX filing for bankruptcy. I mean, are there heroes out there for FTX, I think, is the question. And I think we just have to go back in time, like literally a month, just to think about, was SBF and FTX successful in trying to raise funds for their other ventures in the lead up to this fiasco? If you look a little bit, I think you'll find the answer is not so much.
Not so much indeed. Crystal Kim, Axios, good to have you. I'm sure with this evolving story, we'll see you next week. Appreciate it.
Thank you.